Hey guys, gonna do a quick little video on what I look for in a camp knife. And pardon if I sound a little off. Got a head cold, and just that time of year. Little sidetrack. Weather really fun up here in New York, up in the snow belt. Went to leave for work tonight or this morning. Yeah, I probably left at 5:30 this morning. -10. And that's just the temperature. That's not including wind chill. So, yay. It's so cold that the snow sounds like if you ever stepped on styrofoam. That squishy, squeaky, whatever. If you live up north or in the snow, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, what do I look for in outdoors and camp knives? And I'll preface this with tests are going to be woodswork, um, sheltercraft, woodswork, sheltercraft, firecraft, cooking, and just those type of everyday tasks that you're going to do around the campsite. Not so much with hunting, okay? Granted, all these knives here can do it. You know, if you have to uh, skin an animal or gut an animal, they can all do it. It's just something like this is going to do a better job because of that sweep, smaller, thinner blade. But all of these can do it. And one in particular, this buck here, I've done it. So, but excuse me. First up here, this mora. This is budget friendly, compact. You got like a 4-inch blade. Just I would say that's somewhere between around an eighth of an inch, maybe. Somewhere between a 16th and an eighth, somewhere in there. Um, not too thick, not too thin, but you know, you've got a nice reinforced tip. You have a nice Scandi convex grind with a nice polish to it. Um, this is stainless. I think this is the Samick steel, so it's going to hold up to the elements a little bit better than the carbon steel, especially if it's not coated. Rubber grips, which is very comfortable, very lightweight, versatile with a sheath. The only thing that this does not have going for it is that it is a partial tang that goes to about here. So, this is not a knife I would do a lot of batoning with. You can do it, very light batoning. But I wouldn't be going through any sort of knotty hardwood. If you have a branch that's, you know, about the size of your wrist, you can probably make it through. But this kind of knife, this more modern puku type style, yeah, it's just a workhorse for carving, whittling, notching. Um, Extremely ergonomic. You know, you can make your shavings and feather stitches. You can do your notches. You can do a draw cut. You can do a lot of things with this that something like this is going to be a little harder to do, but still doable. But for a light use, compact, cheap, $20 camp knife, very hard to beat a mora. I have 2 for that reason. Next, we're just going up in size here. This buck 119. This is probably the knife I pick up the most. Reason being, it's light. It's a good mid-size knife. It's got a 5 3/4 inch blade, 420 buck high carbon stainless, 3/16 thick, I believe. Sure looks like it. Oh, yeah. 3/16 thick. Nice leather sheath, if I didn't mention that. This one in particular has the Cocobolo wood handles, aluminum bolsters, or guard and pommel, I should say. Nice bird's beak. So something that this does not have, and it doesn't have the weight to do it anyway, but these birds beaks, I can't talk, don't mind me. This little hook is very good if you choke back up on the knife and you need to hack at something. Now this doesn't necessarily have a lot of weight to it, but it has a little bit of belly. So if you hit it up in the front, you're going to get some oomph. Not a lot of oomph, but some bite when you make contact with something. A slight little choil here that someone, if you got little baby hands like I do, you can choke up on it and use it. I would say that's more of a sharpening detail than a actual finger choil, but as long as you're careful, you can. Very nice hollow grind, so it takes a very keen edge. It's going to be a little bit more, I shouldn't say delicate, because it's not a delicate knife. I've put this through a beating. It's a very good knife. But that kind of grind, because you get so thin behind the edge, it can be prone to chipping. Just because of how thin that edge is behind the bevel. But it makes a great slicer, great cutter. Clip point, good penetration, good strong tip. A fine tip too that you can get detail work. But a nice thick stock. Tang goes to about here where it's pinned. So pretty much a full tang knife. I just like it. This, me personally, it's something I carry a lot, just because of the ease of carry, the size, and hunting season. It is what I pair with my little skinny knife here. And affordable. You buy the traditional one with black kind of resin handle, 70, 80 bucks. American made. I didn't mention this. These are made in Sweden, made in the USA. Next is this Kabar USMC, more modern version, in a plastic Kydex style sheath. A lot of lashing options. It is an ambidextrous design. So, right-handed, left-handed, which is nice. Without the strap around the handle, that's very secure, and then obviously you snap it in. Little rattle, but it ain't going anywhere. Easy to draw out. 7-inch blade, standard K-bar size. You get the double hilt, so you're, as long as you're holding on to the knife, you are not slipping out off of it. Good pommel, rat tail tang, but it goes all the way to the end where it's pinned. Ooh, hello. Yeah, pin. There we go. 1095 high carbon steel with a coating, obviously, that over the last 12, 13 years or however long I've had this knife has seen its abuse and worn off and has some character to it. A nice little fuller, kind of like this buck has. Now, people will call fullers a blood groove. It's more of an aesthetic thing, for one. Number two, it helps balance and counter some weight for the knife. This is another clip point blade, 3/16 thick, so a good stock on it. Comes up to a nice reinforced tip, but it's still fine enough to have good penetration. If you really wanted to, you could on not so much this one, but this one. You could take a grinder and you could make this into a slight double edge, which even soldiers back in the day they would do. They would grind this down to make the first third of this a double edge blade. If you're going to use it for normal people use out in the woods, I would not, because that'll chew up your baton. And even having this kind of false edge for the swedge, it will chew up a baton. It's the thing with clip points. They chew up your batons. It happens. That's why a lot of people tend to favor a drop point. I'm just partial to the look and the aesthetics of a nice clip point, Bowie style. Saber ground from the halfway mark down to the bevel. So this one you're going to get still a very usable sharp edge, and over the years I have put kind of a slight convex edge to it. How well you can see that. And all that means is, just because I've used the hell out of this thing, the edge, instead of being a V grind, which is very typical amongst most knives, okay, I have somewhat added a convex edge. So I have broadened that V grind slightly into from this into a this, if that makes any sense. It'd be easier if I drew it, but makes the edge a little bit more durable, and when you're sharpening on a stone, it's a little easier to sharpen. And because I have had nits and little chips on this over the years, I've taken file to it and re-honed an edge to it, so that's kind of where that comes from. And then my big boy, this BK7, another modified drop point, clip point type, modified clip point, not as exaggerated as a standard clip point, but still got the swedge, good amount of belly, good bird's beak. This one has some heft to it, so I can chop. 7-inch blade, wide blade of 1.5 inches or so. My Carta handles, these are aftermarket, along with an aftermarket sheath. I didn't mention this. About 80 bucks, I think you can still get one of these for. I paid probably 50, 60 back in the 10 years ago. More than that now, but these are about 100 these days. 1095. Takes a wicked edge. 3/16 thick. Some modifications that you might want to do, because I don't think any of these knives honestly have a 90-degree spine. You could run this on a belt sander real quick and kind of sharpen the edges here to make it 90 degrees. Let me explain for a second what I mean by that. So, it's because I have one of these handy. A 90-degree spine will be able to throw a spark. Okay? So, say you have your ferro rod, you lose your striker. It's very convenient that you can take your knife and do that. Now, obviously that does not have a 90 on it. This buck does not. This mora does not. This BK7. That I can already tell you because I know does not. So that's a modification a lot of woodsman type people will do to their knives is they will get the spine of their knife to accommodate that. Me personally, I carry a multi-tool, whether it's a Swiss Army knife or a Leatherman. And most of the tools on those type of implements are 90 degrees and you can throw a spark. Something else. Sometimes saws can, but this one cannot. Another thing to consider is coatings. A lot of blades, especially if they're made out of a carbon steel to prevent rust, are coated. If you have stainless, typically they aren't. If you know what you're doing with the knife and it's a carbon steel, you can put a patina to it or just keep it oiled and clean and it'll eventually build the patina and not rust on you. But in order to throw a spark off of something, you need that non-coated bare steel to throw your spark. And sometimes just a dedicated striker is what you want. But this is my workhorse. Beat the hell out of it. Trust it with my life. If I had to pick one knife for the rest of my life to have out of what I got currently, it's this. You pair this with a folding saw and you're pretty well set for any outdoors task you need to do. Can this do everything perfect? No. Can it do a lot of things very, very well? Yes. And I'm not worried if I beat the fuck out of it. Pardon my language. Beat the hell out of it. I'm not worried about breaking it versus something like this. And that's because it's just one giant hunk of steel. But it's still well balanced enough. I don't know. So I'm just balance point is literally right at the guard. So just slightly behind the guard. So it is a very well balanced big knife.